And thank you all for your testimony today. I'll begin questions today, followed by the ranking member. Will then alternate between the parties. I would now recognize myself for the purpose of questioning our witnesses. Let everybody get set here. All right. I'd like to start with you, if I can, Mr. Arriga. In particular, your agency, the GAO, reported that the federal government made $247 billion in improper payments, including roughly $200 billion in overpayments last year. And I know the Innovation Lab's been working with the executive branch to strengthen payment integrity using technologies such as AI. I think it could be a real game changer here for congressional oversight. In your submitted statement, you mentioned using AI to organize large volumes of text, like public comments from regulation.gov. Is that the same system or something that could help identify some of these improper payments? Could you give us a little color into that?
Thank you, Chairman. Certainly, improper payment is a significant concern for the Comptroller General. We currently have a project looking at something similar across the federal single audits to identify persistent and systemic issues that may indicate instances of improper payments. And we're sort of extrapolating that to say what might be the future likelihood of those systemic issues continue to persist. So I think this is something that, as long as we can get the right data governance structure in place, something that holds tremendous promise for us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the work you're doing in that space. Let me jump to you, Mr. Clocker, if I can. In your submitted testimony, you mentioned that the House has approximately 160 approved cloud service providers in use today throughout our member and committee offices. It's a lot of different pieces of software and companies for CAO to manage in support of this institution. We're working to build these tools to make sure that this software is moving us in the right direction. How do you plan to evaluate providers as it relates to AI for both legal, cybersecurity concerns, in that we don't avoid the rush to roll out, but we're also leaning into the advantages they provide?
That's a great question. We know there's going to be a transition time where we're using our existing risk management framework to evaluate products. And we think that is a useful approach right now, but it's going to need to evolve and evolve very quickly. We're going to have AI-specific frameworks, similar to the NIST framework, and we're going to have AI-specific protocols and procedures to evaluate these products. We're already talking to the vendors about how their products handle house data, protect house data, and how those products use AI in various use cases. So we're developing the questions that we need to ask these vendors. We don't have all the answers to those questions yet, so it's an ongoing process.
And do you think you have the human capital to be able to make that evaluation of the vendors?
I think that's a great question, right? We've got, you mentioned 160 products. These are cloud products we've authorized for use by members and committees and leadership. Right now, we have an annual process to review those products. When we do review those products, we review the quality of the firm. Are they a mature firm providing technology? That's a great foundation, but we're going to have to add some resources to do this correctly, or we're going to have to cut down a number of products that we've authorized here in the House. So it is a challenge.
No, finish your thought.
I think the final point on that is, please be increasingly vigilant about the products you use in your office and the data you use for it during this transition.
Thank you very much. I think this is going to be an ongoing dialogue as we work to continue to evaluate the technological products that are in front of us to make sure that we're leveraging the benefits but also managing any downside risk. Let me shift to you if I can, Ms. Conklin. In your written testimony, you discovered about improving discoverability as it relates to supporting the U.S. Copyright Office. I think it's an area where we have great potential here for a use case in AI. Can you walk through a little bit more as it relates to the Copyright Office registration records and how AI could be leveraged in that space?
As I mentioned, thank you for the question. As I mentioned, we do have a significant amount of historical data that includes historical copyrighted records, and we are currently performing an experiment on the records.
Can I just ask you to just double check your mic? I can hear you, but I know those listening at home might not be able to.
Thank you. And so we have a current experiment with the Copyright Office on their historical records. Due to the, within the agency, we have a significant amount of historical data. And we are currently exploring we're currently experimenting with the Copyright Office historical data, and that will make the data more discoverable on those digitized records that exist today. The difference between digitizing the records and making them discoverable via AI is a machine can search much faster using AI technologies, and that's what our hope is, that researchers can use that data for their research.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for your testimony today. I'll now recognize Mr. Morelli for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Again, thank you all.